Africa is the only reason why Western Europeans get to enjoy such a high quality of life, especially for France. They brag about being able to live well even though they don't have to work as hard as Americans, but they omit the fact that all that comfort they enjoy comes off of the back of African resources and labor. England, Portugal, Germany, Belgium, Italy, and France all made a massive scramble for Africa in the 1880s, and France by far still has their foot in their old colonial ways. And even though these African nations have declared their independence, France and a couple other countries are still exploiting them, and they have given nothing in return to these African nations. They have built very little in infrastructure and construction. They have given next to nothing compared to how much they have taken to support their ways. Out of the 8 African coups that have happened since 2020, 7 of them were from French colonies. The French do not know how to build, they do not know how to innovate, they do not know how to grow democracy in any part of the world, which is why for the past 60, 70 years, they have just had French puppets that were ruling these African countries that finally got sick of how they were being treated. China has only taken an interest in Africa for 30 or 40 years, yet they have built more industry and infrastructure than all of the other European countries combined. So of course, the African nations are going to have a much more favorable disposition towards China since they are the ones who are actually building factories, roads, bridges, hospitals. China is actually divesting a lot of their own resources to make this possible. And you guys know how I feel about a lot of Chinese policy, but they did hit the nail on the mark when it comes to Africa. It is pretty clear that Russia's Wagner forces have had a lot to do with the coups that have taken place in Gabon, Niger, Mali, and Burkina Faso. And even though the Russians aren't trying to actually help anyone, I believe they are trying to foment chaos and destabilize a lot of positions in the West. This can be an overall good thing for Central Africa. Even though the Russians' goal is to create a lot of instability for the West, this instability can spread to a lot of other African countries, and that can actually hurt a lot of China's positions there. Make no mistake, despite what you're seeing in the media, the US will find a way to exploit whatever is happening in Africa. At first, they seemed that they were very pro taking down the Niger coup, and now they've kind of backed off and they said that they are going to respect the current government. No, a lot of these African nations don't have a favorable viewing of the United States. The US will always find a way to profit off of whatever instability is caused. If there is going to be a disruption in the energy supply, I will bet you that the US will make money selling its liquid natural gas and oil. If there is going to be widespread war, the US is going to make a lot of money selling its weapons. I would not put it past the United States interests to have their cake and eat it too. They may be happy about China building all of this infrastructure because that means the US doesn't have to. It means the US doesn't have to invest in anything to make Africa more prosperous and rich, but they can reap all of the benefits for when that actually happens. In my opinion, I think that every Western interest should be kicked out of every African country and then reintroduced as a potential trading partner among peers with equal standing, instead of these African nations having to deal with the West like guaranteed exploiters.
I think it's quite clear because right now everyone is talking about it, and even the Westerners, the people, have totally understood what the problem is. They have totally understood the reason why Africa is the way it is and how their Western government's influences in Africa has caused a lot of problems for us, the Africans. They are all seeing it. You can see many Westerners also saying the same thing. That it's high time their government remove their hands from Africa's affairs. That it's high time Africa be led to handle their own issues. Because for far too long, right, these people have been in Africa. They've influenced our politics. They've influenced our way of life. They've influenced almost everything just to their benefit. Hardly had there ever been a time when the things they did was for the benefit of the African people. Whenever they do things, it's always for their benefit. Like we Africans don't reap anything from whatever they are doing. Just look through Africa. No one needs to tell you what the Westerners have done so far. The French-speaking countries in Central and West Africa are the worst because those countries, France still has an upper hand over the countries. France alone determines so many things that go on in those countries. How can those countries even develop themselves when they have to listen to France, when they have to take their orders from France, when they have to toe the line because they are being scared of being overthrown or taken out by the French government? And before I end this video, I just want to point out one other fact that the speaker in the video that you guys just watched made. He appreciated the Chinese for everything they've done so far in Africa. And I know I have bashed the Chinese like a lot, but I do give them credit for their hard work. And I do love the fact that when they said they do something, they will do it. That they are actually building roads and bridges and buildings in Africa. And I love that. But my only worry is that they are not just doing this from the goodness of their heart, which I am not implying that they should do. No, 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 no. I am not saying that Africa should be looking for free lunch. No, that's not what I'm saying. If there's one person who has been critical about handouts and the free lunches to Africa, it's me. I believe that Africa has a lot, and Africa must be able to feed herself. That African countries must be able to take care of themselves, and they should stop begging for handouts and donations and aid. Because when you go out there begging for aid, begging for handouts, begging for donations, it degrades you. It doesn't give you any respect. It doesn't make you look strong. It makes you look weak. So Africa should stop that. Now, coming back to China, people in Africa, especially our leaders, should not just fall in bed with the Chinese without really putting some good measures in place. Because the Chinese are also in Africa to gain something from the continent. They are also in Africa because they want something from Africa. That's why they are there. So we, the Africans, must be very smart to make sure that whatever they are taking away from the continent, they are bringing something equal to it. That they shouldn't be taking more than what they are bringing into the continent. Because what has kept Africa where it is the imbalanced dealings with France or the West. France will take like 90% and only give 10% back in return. That has to stop. If the Chinese are doing business in Africa, good and fine. If the Chinese are trading with us in Africa, good and fine. I like it. But we must make sure that the Chinese do not play over us. The Chinese do not take more than what they are bringing in. That the deal with China or the deals with China and the Chinese must be balanced. But you guys out there, if you were to compare China with the West, what would you say? Share your thoughts and opinions with us in the comment section below. Because like always, we love hearing what you have to say. And also, do not forget to like this video, share this video, follow our Facebook page, and most importantly, subscribe to this channel because little bit of good way, like the one you're doing just now, help us a lot and we shall forever be grateful to you. So thank you very much for doing just that. And like always, see you in the next one.